Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming along to this joint PushON and Nosto Lunch and Learn, a little bit of a webinar for you. It's what we try to give back to people who we work with and people who might like to work with all of us. We have a load of extremely strong partnerships. We've known Nosto for a very long time and enjoyed working with them. It's a great piece of kit which works really well, so it should be part of your consideration process. PushON, I hopefully you know, because some of you are clients. We're an e-commerce agency. We do building fairly large, complex websites, and we help people make money through that. Now, fortunately for you, I'm not going to be the one speaking today. We have the lovely Julia Dawson, who is, correct me if I'm wrong, is it UK and Nordics agency partnership manager?
Yeah, that is correct. Bit of a mouthful, but yeah, that's my title.
That's excellent. So in the spiel that we put out there, it's all about planning. We find a lot of people don't plan and don't get ready in time and perhaps have a bit of a wrong focus. I'm a bit militant about what Black Friday should be for. You should already have that in place by now. If not, speak to us and we'll get things sorted out for you. But too many people don't think about what they want out of this period, whether they're doing customer acquisition or are they maximizing revenue. What's the focus? So we're in large, but I don't think this is relevant for Black Friday, but we're in large part going to ignore that, and we're going to be looking at coming up to the Christmas period. For some of you, you're not going to have a Christmas period because you don't sell anything that's that particularly sensitive, but everything in here should be something of great value to you. So I'm going to, as you'll be delighted to see, shut up for a bit, and Julia, I am going to pass over to you.
Thank you so much, Simon. I really, really appreciate that very warm introduction. I also just want to say a massive thank you to PushON for having me on today. As Simon said, we've worked with them. They're a fantastic partner that we've worked with for years. And I was really, really excited when they asked me to speak to you all today. For those of you that don't know what Nosto does, so we are a commerce experience platform. So that's basically just some fancy lingo to say that we specialize in optimizing the on-site experience through advanced segmentation, personalization, and A/B testing. Going back to what Simon was just talking about, where potentially you already have your kind of Black Friday strategies. If you are kind of going for that, if you are going for Black Friday, you probably already have them in place. But what we're talking about today doesn't have to be like peak specific. It's really kind of focusing on optimizing that on-site experience so that you can make most of any traffic that's coming to your site. It's particularly important this time of year just because that is, the bulk of, a lot of when sales happen. But these kind of strategies can actually be deployed all year round. So hopefully it's of use to all of you. A little bit about me. So I've been at Nosto for around 18 months. As Simon said, I have a lengthy title of Agency Partner Manager for the UK and Nordics. So basically what that means is my role is to work with, the fantastic agencies such as PushON to help, enable them about the Nosto platform, make sure that, you can really, really get the most out of it to ultimately drive real uplift in revenue and conversions for your clients. So in terms of a little bit of background about me. Before I came to Nosto, I was actually on the agency side. So, I used Nosto a lot, in my role for my clients as well. So hopefully I'll be able to share some useful insights with you guys today around, what sort of strategies you should be thinking about this time of year, and hopefully demonstrate how you can mirror some of the success that some of our clients have seen as well. In terms of what I'll be running through today, I'll just start by setting the scene. Hopefully I don't need to spend too long on this because I think we're all aware of the importance of kind of Q4 and peak period, but I just think it's helpful to kind of contextualize it in numbers, just to set the scene. And when I was prepping for this webinar, I basically asked our head of customer experience, if I was a client and I was coming to you, what would be the kind of step-by-step guide that you would suggest to me on how to optimize the site? And so that's essentially what I'm going to be walking through with you today. So, where to start, what sort of kind of merchandising strategies you can deploy, how to optimize the site experience. So a couple of examples of brands that have done this successfully, as well as that all-important kind of post-peak game plan to make sure that all of the customers that you worked very, very hard to secure over this period come back and want to keep buying from you. So yeah, we will have some time at the end for some questions. So please do feel free to, jump in and ask me anything. I'll also put my details at the end in case you don't want to do it in this forum and you'd rather like connect on LinkedIn or anything like that. So yeah. So just by setting the scene of, why peak is so important, why are we, all talking about peak period at this time of year? Why is it essential for brands? Well, namely, December is the biggest gifting month of the year globally, and consumer appetite for spending is at an all-time high. We can actually see this in the numbers as well. Looking at last year, Cyber Monday specifically, they set a record e-commerce goal where over 11 billion pounds or dollars was actually spent on one day. So it just kind of shows the kind of frenzy for purchasing that kind of happens at this time of year. Online spending this, for Cyber Week has actually increased year on year, and Q4 presents just a really, really big opportunity to capitalize and maximize sales, particularly when we're all aware that 2023 has not been the easiest for us all. So it would just be a really, really nice way to kind of end the year on a high. On average, brands typically see about a 30% increase in traffic during Q4. And so it's just, really, really important that we're taking the time to optimize the on-site experience to make sure that, you're understanding the traffic, you're understanding how to push the right products to the right people at the right time. So now I've kind of set the scene as to why you should be investing into optimizing your site ahead of Q4 and, the overall holiday season. I'm just going to kind of dig into the how. So, where do we start? So again, like I said, I really, really wanted to kind of present this webinar as if, you're a client that is looking to optimize a site. Where do you kind of begin? So the first step for any online brand is really, really digging into the data of, what is it that you're, what does your audience look like? What is it they're looking to purchase? Where are they visiting from? That sort of stuff. So as I've already covered, like most brands already expect about a 30% increase in traffic during Q4. So this is likely going to be a mix of completely new customers that have no idea who you are, as well as, returning visitors too. So if we think about it, consumers are actually getting very, very savvy at this time of year. So you might actually have customers right now that are, earmarking stuff, wish links and stuff, putting it into their basket and delaying purchasing because they're aware that, in a couple of weeks' time, they might be able to get it at a better price. So that's why it's really, really important to take the time to understand your customers. So what is it that they're looking for, so that you can ensure that the site is optimized for all your different types of visitors, and you can really, really, ensure that you're pushing the right content that resonates with them. So deep diving into where your customers land and where they drop off will actually really, really help you to identify what sort of pages you should direct your marketing channels to, as well as, what pages might need a little bit of tweaking if you're having a lot of drop off from that. A little plug, but Nosto does make this really, really easy for brands. So as I mentioned, we have like a really advanced analytics suite, which you can kind of see a little bit in the slide that I've got at the moment. And it basically allows you to segment customers into groups based on where they're at in their customer journey, or even, how they're browsing the site at that time. So it basically means that you can really dig into the detail of what resonates with your different customers, and you can actually start to test out different content strategies to see what performs best. So, for example, for new customers, they have no idea who you are. So you might want to kind of build up that brand credibility, authenticity really, really quickly to make sure that they kind of trust you and will, feel comfortable checking out. That's by showcasing positive reviews, UGC, really, really building that brand trust. Whereas for your returning customers, you might want to just immediately greet them with a pop-up to say, hey, pick up where you left off, and just allow them to quickly get into that purchase journey and check out as quickly as possible. I think starting with that really thorough data analysis will really determine what's right for your business, what will resonate with your audience the most. But hopefully, as we kind of go through the webinar, I'll be able to provide a little bit of inspiration as to what's worked for some of our clients. So once you understand your customers, the next thing is just understanding your products. So you're going to want to make sure that you're thinking really, really strategically about your product catalog. So we always suggest to clients that they should start by analyzing, their inventory and considering what's going to likely fly off the shelves versus what's been sat around for a little bit of time that you can probably be a little bit more heavy-handed on the kind of discounting front. So you want to make sure that you have enough stock to fulfill your orders, basically, for your best sellers. So a nice idea is just to look at kind of previous trends. What kind of sales did you have last year? What sort of uplift did you see in this time? So that you can kind of, maximize that. On the other hand, you might have products that have too much stock, and now's a really, really good time to shift it. So you can do that by promoting high inventory products in your merchandising, but also bundling them together for a specific discount. When speaking to the customer success team, I actually asked the question, so what is your number one recommendation for prepping for peak? And it's not a particularly sexy answer, but one of the most common recommendations is basically to make sure that all of your product tags are set up and they're really, really optimized. And the reason being, any campaign, any kind of personalization strategy is only as effective as your tagging. So, one of our clients had 5 different types of large. They had L to XL, large in capital letters, the letter large and in small letters. And it basically makes it really, really difficult for customers to find what it is they're looking for. If you think about if you're clicking onto category pages and you're trying to filter by size, you have no idea which ones are actually meant to be right for you. So clearing up your catalog and making sure that everything is done to the same methodology will basically allow you to make sure that you're recommending all of the right products to the right people. That leads me on to the importance of merchandising. So your peak season shoppers are most likely going to want to browse and purchase quickly. So it's really important that you just help them to find the right products as quickly as possible. Merchandising also allows you to promote products that will benefit your business the most. So what is it that you're looking to achieve? Are you looking to kind of shift overstock products? Are you looking to make the most amount of money? So push high margin items, whatever it is. Those are the products that you should kind of be focusing on in your merchandising strategy. But realistically, the kind of first step to that is really just understanding where customers are looking for products. So this could be through on-site search, on your category pages, product recommendation slots, just really sort of any content tile that the products feature in, basically. And you want to prioritize the ones that have the most views first, just so you're kind of really making the most of your time and making the most of your efforts. I've included quite a good strategy for Cyber Week, just as an example on the screen. So it's essentially promoting high converting overstocked items with the highest discount percentage. And it's, as simple as that, because that's what's really going to be driving the results at this time of year. But ultimately, you're going to want to check ahead of time that this is the sort of strategy that's going to work for your customers. The next step is really just to anticipate those peak season trends. So, you're probably going to have quite a lot of shoppers seeking out good deals, and you're probably going to face quite a lot of product sellouts as well. So that is something that you really want to take into account when you are merchandising. The most successful brands will most likely automate this process rather than relying on somebody to go in and kind of manually update the ordering of products, just because it's borderline impossible to kind of keep up with demand at that time. And without kind of automating that process, you can run the risk of, delays. So when people come to the site, they might be met with out of stock products, or not discounted items, or whatever it is. So yeah, it's really, really important that you think about this in an automation sense if you do have a lot of traffic going through your site at this time. The next step is just to get personal with it. So, if you can combine personalization with merchandising, it's even better, because it will just really, really help to capture the attention of your visitors quickly. So, you know, for example, brands that have larger product catalogs, you might have a ton of category pages that, you know, customers need to sift through. And people realistically have very short attention spans. And that's even more true this time of year. So it's really important that the products that are going to be most interesting to that individual are pushed front and center as soon as they land onto your category pages. So you can kind of streamline relevant product discovery by, you know, boosting items that are related to what they've purchased before, or, you know, that's definitely available in that customer size, if you know what that is. And by doing that, you're just bound to remove the kind of frustrations of customers not being able to find what it is they're looking for. Another good kind of merchandising tip this time of year is to merchandise for paid traffic. So chances are brands such as yourselves will be kind of investing quite heavily in ad spend over this time of year. And, you know, you want to make sure that if customers are landing from specific ads, that experience is mirrored on the site as well. So for example, if I'm coming from Facebook because I've seen a product that I absolutely love and I want to purchase right now, if I go through the ad and I'm not immediately greeted with that product, it's going to cause a lot of frustration. So you just want to make sure that that is kind of matching up with your advertising as well. I want to highlight a nice example from one of our clients, which is Arax. So when a product goes out of stock, they basically have a notify me when available call to action, but they've also set up merchandising rules according to size. So, you know, if a customer does find a product that they absolutely love, but it's not available for them to buy right that second, they can basically be streamlined and redirected into a visually similar product that they're able to buy today. So that in itself solves two major problems that can occur over this time of year. The first is, you know, streamlining that buyer journey for the customer, which, you know, reduces the risk of bounce and, you know, customer frustration, all that sort of stuff. But it actually also helps brands to shift their overstock products. Rather than just, you know, your same bestsellers being promoted to everybody, it really, really allows you to kind of explore the wider product catalog in a really relevant way. Just to highlight the sort of impact that can have, one of our clients actually tested pushing their high inventory items within their product recommendation slots. And they actually increased conversion rates by like 31% in 1 month, because it meant that customers weren't frustrated by navigating into a product that wasn't available for the variant that they wanted it to be. So yeah, once you've ensured that you're pushing the right products to the right people, you're also going to want to optimize the on-site experience to just make it as slick as possible. So the next couple of slides is basically, you know, just a couple of tactics and proven strategies that have worked for our clients for this time of year. So the first is shoppable gift guides. And I think this is a really nice one, particularly if we're thinking about the holiday season. So alongside finding the best deals for themselves, lots of shoppers will actually be using Cyber Week as an opportunity to kind of get ahead of the game with their Christmas shopping. And shoppable gift cards can really, really help to kind of aid product discovery, particularly when, you know, the shopper isn't purchasing for themselves. So, you know, they might need a little bit more of a steer for what to get their partner, what to get their parents, because then, you know, they just don't know what's a suitable gift. So on top of kind of helping your customers, shoppable gift guides can also help the brands, because it can really, really help you to understand customer intent, and you can take that into account for any of your retargeting campaigns. So as an example, if I'm going on to like a men's golfing site, and, you know, I'm doing that because I want to find a product for my dad, any product that I purchase on that day will not really be reflective of, you know, what I like. So if a brand then continues to kind of retarget me, entice me in with the latest deals on golf clubs, or, you know, whatever it is that you're selling, it's going to be quite a wasted effort. You're going to be wasting money pushing products to me when it's just not in my interest. Whereas if you take the time to understand that customer intent, and you understand that I'm actually specifically shopping for my dad, you could use Nosto to create like a male gifting or father gifting segment, and then push, you know, products and messages to me at more relevant times of the year. So like Father's Day, for instance, rather than going out to like your generic first-time customer segments. So gift guides can really, really be a win-win, because customers can find the products that they want, but brands can actually learn more about, you know, how customers are browsing the site, and basically just increase that overall customer lifetime value. The next example I have is all about kind of amplifying your value and like using social proof. So competition is always really, really fierce this time of year, and it's really only expected to kind of increase. So it's more important than ever to really, really highlight your USPs to immediately grab the attention of your audience and convince them to buy with you directly. We actually, as Nosto, we did some research into kind of spending and buyer habits this time of year. And the expectation with the kind of cost of living pressures is that like in 2023, more than ever before, people will be kind of really, really bargain hunting and shopping for comparable products across lots of different stores. So really shouting about why they should purchase with you, why your product is better than, you know, any other on the market will really, really benefit you. So it's important to make that, you know, that sort of messaging really, really visible at kind of any point where a customer might land on the site. So whether that is on your product pages, on your homepage, even in your kind of global navigation, whatever it is, it's just really, really important. Another way to kind of really grab the attention of your audience, and particularly if, you know, you have a lot of new customers coming to the site, is to, you know, really, really talk about social proof. So, you know, that will actually help to kind of drive confidence in the brand because they think that other people are buying it too. But it actually also drives urgency amongst your shoppers and really, really encourages them to you know, convert. So, for example, if you show kind of shopper activity on a particular product page, so you have like FOMO messaging, such as, you know, there's only 5 left in stock, or you know, selling really quickly, whatever it is, it basically just means that, you know, customers are more incentivized to purchase right there and then, rather than kind of browsing in between sites. Another way to kind of really harness that is thinking about, you know, leveraging user-generated content. So what are your customers? Have they ever posted any pictures? Have they, you know, have like said really solid reviews? Anything like that, really kind of amplifying the fact that customers are happy with the products they bought on your site. It will just really help to kind of build that credibility. If you are a company that has lots of different kind of online resellers, it can actually be really difficult, you know, in a similar way, to kind of encourage customers to buy directly with you. And an interesting tactic to try in this case is to implement behaviorally triggered pop-ups. So, you know, we're all aware that this time of year is very, very saturated with promotions and discounts, and it can be really, really difficult for brands to, you know, cut through the noise and actually motivate them to check out versus, you know, going to a competitor site and trying to find a cheaper version of that product elsewhere. Brands are actually, you know, most likely going to be spending really, really large amounts of money getting people to the site. So it really, really hurts even more if they're kind of using your site as inspiration to find a product that they like and then going off and finding a cheaper reseller elsewhere. And one of our clients, Casio, they had this exact problem. So we basically suggested to them, how about you implement a content campaign so when a customer kind of lands on the site, and if they go to kind of copy and paste the product description or the product code and then go to try and exit to find another brand elsewhere, only at that point will a pop-up trigger to say, hey, here are all the reasons that you should shop with us directly. We have 2 years warranty. We have free fast delivery. And also here's a discount code for you. And just to kind of show you the impact that had, just that one content campaign alone accounted for like 10% of their revenue over Q4. So it can be really, really successful just to kind of make sure that you're hitting the right people with, you know, the right message at the right time. The next example that I have to show is all about maximizing average order value. So brands can get really stuck in the cycle of discounting heavily during peak periods, which can have a real impact on, you know, their bottom line and overall profitability. So a really nice way to counteract this, I think, is just to maximize that buying potential for each customer. And, you know, I think that Boxer is a really nice example of this because they basically incorporate tiered rewards directly from the Ajax cart. So basically customers can really, really easily see, you know, what threshold they need to get to in order to get free delivery, in order to get 5% off, 10% off, and 15% off. So, you know, they're very much aware that the more that they buy, the more that they save. And they actually take this one step further. So instead of, you know, just having, you know, a free shipping threshold, all that sort of stuff, they actually allow their customers to, you know, purchase and increase their average order value directly from the Ajax cart as well. So all of the recommendations that you see in that kind of drop down menu, they're all related to the purchases, to the customer's order. So they know that they're relevant products, but more importantly, they've actually set price limits on it as well. So all of the recommendations that appear are actually specifically priced at a point that will get them over to the next threshold. And it's just a really, really nice example of how you can really streamline that purchase journey just from the Ajax cart itself and maximize that average order value. I think particularly this time of year, you know, all customers want is, you know, high discounts as well as, you know, free shipping, and, you know, what they can get for that. So this is just a really nice example of how to do that in a very concise way. So now that you've got a lot of new customers from, you know, all of my top tips and strategies, the final step is just to really, really ensure that you have a game plan that keeps people coming back for more. So peak period is a really, really nice time to analyze how your customers browse your site. And, you know, hopefully you'll have kind of a lot of new traffic and new customers in order to kind of work with for this. And you will be able to understand how they, you know, how they engage with the site, what it is they liked, where they dropped off, and essentially what sort of segments and groups they could fall into based on their interests. You can, you know, the most successful brands will then take this information. They won't just kind of, you know, leave it there, but then they'll take that information and feed it back into their retargeting efforts. So, you know, feeding it back into Klaviyo, Digital, any of your kind of ESPs that you work with. We can actually dynamically sync segments into those. So you can really, really, you know, capitalize and maximize on the data that you gather through Nosto. So that means that, you know, all of your retargeting efforts can be really, really relevant. And so, for instance, if somebody has a particular affinity for particular style or size or color or category, or, you know, they're very, very discount orientated, that is what you can really, really take into account for your marketing. And, you know, for any post-purchase emails that you do send, it's really important to include really relevant product recommendations that are tailored to the products that they've shown interest in. Or maybe you might want to show them products that are new to the site since they were last on it. But it's taking that really personalized approach within your marketing. That's what's going to be the real difference between people clicking on your emails and just ignoring them completely. You can also even try to like lure them back in with like FOMO messaging. So it can be like last chance to buy or low in stock. And so for any customers that you didn't manage to convert over peak period, hopefully you would have gathered their email address in order to kind of retarget them, but you can hopefully hit them with messaging that might make it more enticing for them to come back to the site and basically, you know, hopefully shop and convert with you. So I just kind of want to finish really by recapping. I wanted to make this kind of short and snappy and hopefully provide you just with a couple of insights, a couple of examples and inspiration of how you can kind of take this in your own peak season planning. And I'm aware I've probably thrown a lot of information at you very, very quickly. But I just want to start, you know, hopefully this is like a condensed version. So if you take anything away from today, it's just kind of the order and process of how you can kind of optimize the site. So number one, for any brand, whatever vertical you're in, is just to really, really take the time to dig into your data, because every brand is different. You know, not every strategy, not every audience is the same. And so not every strategy that I've kind of outlined today is going to work for everybody. So you're really, really going to want to make sure that you take the time to figure out what works best for you and your customers. So analyzing your customer data, analyzing your product data will then kind of allow you to understand what sort of pages, you know, really, really need prioritizing in your optimization. So, you know, thinking about where your marketing efforts are driving people to. So are they driving people to the category pages? Do you have a large amount of drop off there? If you do, then that would probably be a good place to start. Versus if your marketing is only driving people to product pages, you're going to want to make sure that people can really get into the purchase journey, even from those product pages. So including relevant product recommendations. So if the product that they land on isn't exactly the right fit for them, they can still navigate and explore the wider catalog. So yeah, that would be kind of the number one, just prioritize and make sure that, you know, now that we don't have too much time, you just want to make sure that you're getting the most amount of return. The next step, once you've done all that, is just to merchandise your store. So just make sure that people can find what it is that they're looking for as quickly as possible, but also that the products that you're pushing really align with your goals this time of year. So are you, you know, targeted on selling out all of your ranges and removing really overstocked items? Are you targeted on revenue? Are you like whatever it is, you want to make sure that those are the products that you're pushing front and foremost, you know, to your store at any one point. And what's really important to note is that every store is different, and all of your audiences are different. So you're just going to want to take the time to test different campaigns and really make sure that the information that you're kind of pushing to people is what really resonates with your customers specifically. So yeah, testing is absolutely key. And yeah, once you've kind of optimized your site, you just want to make sure that you've got that post-peak game plan like in the back of your head to make sure that you can retain all of the customers that you've worked so hard in order to get over this period. So making sure that they fall into the right segments based on their interests, but also, you know, intent for who they're purchasing for. That's going to be really important.
Well, thank you very much for that, Julia. That was exactly what we were looking for. While we've been doing that, I have actually done a lunch and learn. I had a very tasty bowl of homemade chicken stew, probably the best I've ever made. We've had various questions in from some lovely people. Have you seen the one from Phil?
I haven't. Let me check.
So Phil Myers-Co, very good friend of the business, and somebody whose company we enjoy very much. Loads of good stuff here, and the answer to this may be different across sectors, products, etc. But if you could highlight just one top recommendation that would help retailers optimize for peak, which do you believe would be the most effective in most cases?
That's a really good question. What I would say is just, as you say, every store is different. And so if I had one piece of advice for you, it's just to really take the time to know your own store and know your own audience. So that thorough data analysis is my number one recommendation, followed by a really in-depth, you know, testing strategy. I think depending on what your goals are, so whether it is to maximize average order value, reduce bounce rates, any of that will really inform, you know, what strategy is going to work best for you. But like as a personal preference, the ones I find really cool are, you know, that pop up when people are kind of leaving your site, just to kind of make sure that you're capitalizing on all the traffic, but also making sure that you're maximizing average order value with really hyper relevant recommendations.
That's super good. And similar questions here. Tim Willis, who is much beloved to us, says, how can you manage these sorts of optimizations within a small team?
So it's a really good question. And I think that's kind of going back to my point around merchandising and allowing the automation side of things. So if you do have a small team, I actually think it's more important to use, you know, tools that have sort of AI that you can kind of configure and put time and work into at the beginning, but you can kind of let it run and do its thing from that point. And I think that is going to be essential for you know, smaller teams, because you just don't have the resource and the energy in order to kind of stay on top of everything in the way that you need to at this time of year. Speaking from like a Nosto perspective, we also have like a customer success team as well. So for smaller teams that might be a little bit more nervous about like having comprehensive technology and, you know, can you make the most of it? That's what our team is meant like that's what our team is kind of made for. That's, you know, their whole purpose of their job is to make sure that they can get the most out. So, you know, providing guidance on what sort of segments you can kind of split your customers into, what sort of tests might work well, that sort of thing. So it's really, really kind of leaning on the experts if you don't have the kind of resources in-house to do that.
Thank you very much. I'm just wondering if any other people who are watching have any other questions they'd like to ask. I thought that was good. One of the things that really frustrates me when you're talking about the whole piece of e-commerce is not thinking about the customer and the customer's needs. So too many e-commerce brands think about a single sale. Getting a customer is an expensive thing to do, possibly the most expensive thing to do. So thinking about, first of all, how do you supply everything that's relevant for you to supply, and also thinking beyond that one single transaction, so bringing other strategies into play. So one of the things that we find is a killer application for people to use is email. People still to this day miss out a lot on email as well, on just thinking about what the consumables with this product, how often might people shop for this, and doing the kind of basic optimization as well. So I'm not seeing any other questions there. Young Alex, do you have anything that you might want to ask?
Yeah, I was going to just ask, what platforms can Nosto support?
So we are platform agnostic. So we have direct integrations with, you know, all the major ones like Adobe, Shopify, BigCommerce, Salesforce, you know, any other ones that you can think of. But we also have kind of open APIs. So yeah, anywhere that you guys are selling, we'll be able to support.
Brilliant. So I think we'll call that a day so far, because people have got to get back to work. This will be one of many. We're going to make this available as soon as possible. We'll stick a blog post up. We'll stick this on YouTube. And Julie, if you can get your slides over to me, we'll make that available, stick it up online. If anybody watching here has anything else they would like to speak about, any further webinars they would like us to do, just connect with me, let me know. By all means, connect up with Julia. I'm sure she'll be able to sort you out with whatever you need. And if you need anything from us, please don't hesitate to get in touch. So that's goodbye from me.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, guys.